welcome in on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline a man who has been covering Alabama football since before BYU's national championship. Yep, 1982. His name is Cecil Hurt, sports editor from the Tuscaloosa News. Cecil, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Hi, guys. Appreciate being on with you.
Cecil, I counted 9 different Alabama head football coaches that you have worked with over your time covering the Crimson Tide. Is that accurate?
It is. Some were pretty brief, but it's been relatively quiet on that front for the last 12 years. A lot going on.
Understandably, with Nick Saban there. Now, Cecil, it's not often we talk with somebody that was covering college football when BYU won their national championship. So let's start there first. In 1984, what do you remember about the unknown BYU Cougars and Lavelle Edwards winning that controversial national championship?
Yeah, I remember watching the Holiday Bowl. I was not an AP voter that year. I have been an AP voter from time to time, but I was not a voter in that season. But yeah, it was different, you know, that a team from what I guess then was the WAC would win it. But obviously, Coach Edwards is a great coach, had a great quarterback, and I did watch that Holiday Bowl.
See, so before we get to the possibility of BYU facing Alabama, what's the latest regarding when the SEC plans to make a decision on whatever they intend to do this season?
Well, they're having a teleconference today. I don't anticipate that they'll have an announcement today. There's still some issues I think that they want to work out. I would think by the time that actual NCAA mandated football practice starts next week, I would think it's only fair to the players, if no one else, to let the players know what exactly it is that they're practicing for, whether they're going to have an on-time start, a September 5th start. I think that certainly fans want to know, but I think at some point it becomes a fairness issue to the players because they have to decide whether to opt out. They have to decide, what they need to know what their practice schedule is going to be if they're not going to start until October, if they're only going to play 9 games, or if they're going to play 12 and need to be ready on September the 5th. They need to know those things. And I think that in all of this, I think the players get lost a little bit sometimes, but they need to know.
Cecil Hurt, sports editor from the Tuscaloosa News on BYU Sports Nation. Cecil, it feels like to us in Provo, Utah, and I'm sure many others across the country that watch college football closely, that the SEC is driving the hope of the future of college football. Do you feel like it is the SEC potentially leading out and then everybody else following?
Well, if it is, and that may be, although I'm sure the Big Ten would argue with you, but of the remaining 3 Power 5 conferences, it's certainly when they make a decision, whether it's a unified decision, whether it's a cooperative decision, which I think is more likely than a single one-size-fits-all plan. The SEC has a lot of power, generates a lot of revenue. And so I think that the other 2 leagues that remain, the Atlantic Coast and the Big 12, are waiting to see a little bit. But, I would say of all the Power 5 conferences, the SEC is the likeliest to want for a variety of reasons, some of which are political and most of which are economic. I would say that the SEC is the likeliest to try and play as many games as possible. It just may not be possible. But you're talking about $2 billion.
It's a lot of money, Cecil.
No, that's a B.
Yeah, that is a B in that. Yeah, so
$2 billion on the table.
There's so much money involved, and look, and that's something that everybody knows is there, but a lot of people just don't want to talk about. There's a lot of money on the line, and that is driving so many of the decisions on whether or not there's a college football season and how long it will be.
Right. That's not. By the way, that figure's not all across college football. That's the SEC.
Oh,
that's the Southeastern Conference. Alabama's operating budget last year athletically was $186 million. And while they're on the upper end of the SEC, if you just take a round figure of $150 million, multiply it by 14 members, you've got $2.1 billion being discussed here. And not every dollar of that would go away, but it would be possible that if even with an abbreviated schedule with limited attendance, say 20%, just to throw a number out there, you could be looking at $1 billion in losses just from that, depending on how the TV contracts prorated out and et cetera, et cetera. But you could be looking at that would be an upper end figure, but certainly $750 million wouldn't be out of the ballpark by any stretch.
Wow.
The numbers are just absolutely crazy. Cecil, the BYU facing Alabama news that the two have talked, that's been out there now for a little while. Has there been any movement on an agreement? Where do things stand between those two schools as of today?
Well, I think what you have is I think they have talked. I think that given certain decisions by the SEC, including a 12-game September 5th start, that I hate to say an agreement in principle because there's a legal ramification to that, but I think that the two institutions would probably be on the same page if that's what happens. And I think it's not been easy for Alabama to find a replacement for Southern Cal. That's why this is going on, because the Pac-12 went to league only, and Alabama lost a neutral site game with Southern Cal and a $6 million payday there. So it's a situation where not every team in America, not every coach in America, let me put it that way, is looking at their schedule and say, hey, we could play Alabama in the opener. That would work for me. Some people don't want to do that. I think BYU would certainly be willing to step up and play and be excited about that opportunity. So I think that there's a good possibility that it'll happen, but I can't say, it's a done deal, because nothing's a done deal until the SEC says, this is what we're going to do. This is what our time frame is. This is our model. But I think even if it goes to a +1 model of some type, that would probably be pretty likely options for Alabama. And I think that BYU would, which is my understanding is they're really scrambling for some games because of cancellations. That would be, it'd be a televised game. It would be a marquee, particularly if they play on the 5th. I don't think that they would get the $6 million guarantee out of Dallas. I think that, to play in front of a 20% full stadium. I don't think for that reason and logistical reasons, I think it'd be likelier to be in Tuscaloosa than in Dallas.
Sure, and we kind of got that impression just based on testing protocols and the comforts of home and being able to secure those environments. So that wouldn't be a shocker. But Cecil, let's go here. Gauging Alabama fans since this news broke, and you can be as unfiltered as you want. Don't worry about hurting BYU feelings. What do the average Alabama fans think of a matchup with BYU in place of, a traditional power like USC?
Well, certainly the way they're scheduled in the future and the scheduled policy here now, the home and homes that they have upcoming are Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Florida State, et cetera. So that's what they look for first in scheduling. But they also have a series with Arizona. They have a series with West Virginia. Wisconsin, maybe a tier above. They've got one with Wisconsin. So it wouldn't be, particularly for a home game. I think, first of all, Alabama fans just want to play. And, if it was anybody, if Radcliffe decides to run 11 girls out there and play, they'd want to play. So I think there's a respect. BYU's been here before, played here in 2001. And so I think that there's a respect level between the two programs, and not 2001, that was UCLA, 1998. But there's a respect level between the two programs, and I think that would be fine. I haven't heard a lot of, it's just BYU, if that's what you're asking.
So now, obviously, we know this is fluid. If we've learned anything over the last 5 months, is you can't count on anything from one hour to the next.
Can't count on anything, and I can't tell you anything about what the COVID rates in Alabama are going to be in September. They're not great. They're not great right now. Let me just be honest.
Well, keeping that in mind, we're not going to hold you to this, but as we sit here and talk with you today, what is your best guess as to what the SEC will ultimately decide to do, and who will Alabama face in Week 1? As of today, what's your gut feeling?
Again, those are all hard, and they're all my best guess would probably be an 8+1. 8 conference games +1, either starting on the 5th and having additional open dates or pushing a start date back a couple of weeks. And again, some of that, BYU may be affected by some of that if that changes the schedule, but I think Alabama would work to find a spot. So I think that they would play in an 8+1 because I don't think there's necessarily another Power 5. Now, again, that could change. Somebody could step up and say, yeah, we're gonna pair up with the Big 12 or whatever. But I would think that that's probably is not the only possibility, but I would think it's probably the most realistic possibility.
So an 8+1, and the first opponent Alabama faces is who?
Well, again, if it's on the 5th, it would be BYU or somebody that they could find available on the 5th. So I think BYU is certainly in that equation at this point. But again, it's just I'm hesitant to say anything because people then say, oh, well, Cecil said that it was going to be BYU. I don't know because nobody knows for sure. I think that those discussions have taken place. I think that's one of the stronger possibilities that's on the table. If that's it, that's great. And we'll just have to. Other than that, though, we just have to wait until the SEC presidents can get together and have a plan and a schedule plan that they agree on and go with it. So we'll see.
Cecil, I hope our paths, I really hope our paths cross on September 5th at Bryant-Denny Stadium. My fingers are crossed for that. We appreciate your time today, and here's to hopefully more college football.
Yeah, I think everybody that loves college football wants that. Not everybody wants it, and I understand. I respect people who don't want schools open, who don't want, it's going to be different, whatever it is. But, and sports writers, sportscasters, we have an economic interest in it too. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But I think even just sitting around and having a baseball game to turn on this week has been good psychologically. And I think that college football, particularly in this part of the country, but I'm sure in Salt Lake City too, and Provo, that's important to people. And so I hope that they can work it out and it is safe for everybody and that we're seeing college football this fall.
Yeah, amen. Cathartic for sure. Cecil, great to talk with you. Thanks for the time.
Sure, glad to do it.
Cecil Hurt on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
Great stuff.